Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Pirillo, and I am an expert in being myself. I love sharing my advice, my perspectives, my opinions, my experience with others out there. So if you're listening, I appreciate you commenting, especially if you're looking for advice or if you appreciate the advice and you want to see more. Liking, and of course, turning on notifications so that when new videos go live every night at 8 p.m. Pacific, you can be made aware. I'm also streaming live on Twitch every night at 6 p.m. up through when the YouTube video goes live, and so we make it an extra special fun event for people in the community. One size definitely does not fit all, so any advice that I might give, again, it's just my perspective. Hopefully you can take something from it. Now, one person in our community has been a member for as long as I can remember, honestly. I'm not even sure when she joined. Aveline French. I've known her by name, like I said, for years. And the other night, when I was going through my advice video live on Twitch, Aveline asked if I'd be willing to give her some advice, or a little bit more of advice, because she's been appreciating the advice videos, and she said so. She's tweeted it out, and I appreciated that. This is her question. If you feel burnt out, but you don't have an option to leave a job, and don't have an option of taking leave, are there any practices to get you out of feeling so burnt out? Everyone's going to have a different response. In fact, I would be surprised if people who comment didn't have a different answer from me, because maybe they've experienced it. Burnout's no fun. I've gone through burnout. Most of us, if not all of us, have. And it's where you get to a point, you're like hitting a wall. You can't go any further because you're just overwhelmed, even with a routine task. A routine job, a routine responsibility. You just can't do it again. It turns your stomach. It induces a panic attack. It stops you in your tracks. And that's kind of not a good situation, especially if it's something where your job is involved. And especially if you can't leave your job, or if you don't have the option of taking leave, you don't have a lot of options on the table when you're facing burnout. Because if you count on that job and you're the only one in your household, and you contribute to the household in such a way that your job is important for that family's stability, or for certainly your stability, mental stability aside, I mean just your financial stability, that only compounds the problem. That makes it even worse, because when I've been hit with burnout in the past, I've had the luxury of being able to step back and breathe, take time for myself, do a little self-care, and then go back to accomplishing the task. Not everybody and not every job can handle that, certainly, as per Aveline's point. Here's my take. I've got a few different ideas here. And Aveline, since she's watching me give this advice live, feel free to tell me if I'm on the right track, or if you want to clarify anything. Start giving yourself small rewards. You know, and what I mean by that is when there's something that you don't want to do because you're burnt out on it, on the other side of that thing, give yourself a carrot. You know, like, something that you could reach for. A little reward. That by the end of that task, when you've gotten through the thing that you find very challenging to get through, that you have to get through, on the other side, something's waiting for you. And that could be anything. Anything you might enjoy, anything that you would look forward to. So suddenly, your motivator, you're not just focusing on the job, which you have to do, right? You're not focused on the ways that you can't escape this burnout. You can't, but you can give yourself rewards for reaching those goals. And the goal, we're not talking like moving mountains, or building, monuments. We're just simple things. If I get through this, then I get that. When I do this, then I get this. So you give yourself something to look forward to on the other side. And theoretically, it would not be, I I can't imagine the thing on the other side being destructive. I wouldn't even say constructive. So I'll give you, I think you understand what I'm saying, but like one idea, if you enjoy comic books, but it's a guilty pleasure because, you know, like, I don't know, I don't want to spend the money on the comic book, and I really like comic books, but what am I going to do? A comic book would be a great carrot to have. You would then complete the task. If I get through the day, if I get through the week, if I get through this lesson, if I get through this goal, I'm going to have that on the other side, because then it's no longer a guilty pleasure. Then it's contributing to a little bit of joy, something joyful that you can look forward to, because your job right now is stressing you out, and you don't have the luxury of changing anything at this moment. But the one thing you can change is how you reward yourself. Like I said, don't make this more challenging than it needs to be. Like, I mean, I'll frame it in another way for me, right? I'm not saying this is the example, but let's say, for argument's sake, I was burnt out on doing advice videos. It could happen. It might very well happen, right? But I still need to do them because there are people who do listen. And I enjoy putting something out there that may help another individual. You know, honestly, with every video that I do in this series, and I've been doing this for years in terms of giving advice, if I can help one other person, then the time spent on this video will absolutely be worth it. So I think about other people, not just the job that I have to do, that I'm burnt out on, but I try to think of other people too, other people who might depend on me. There could be an audience, a community, a class. It could be your family. It could be any one of those, extrinsic motivators, right? May not solve the burnout, but at least keeps me going. You know, I'm doing this for a reason. I've got a purpose. So I've got my purpose. I'm motivated by something that's not me to look to not allow that burnout to dampen too much of my efficacy in my job. But then, let's say I got through the live stream that I was feeling burnt out on. I promised myself, I get through the live stream, I am going to reach into my drawer and grab Mandalorian snacks with Grogu that I got on sale. That would be my treat. That would be my reward. Something reasonable, something accessible, something that I would look forward to. I mean, it becomes almost Pavlovian in nature, right? Like, then you know this thing that will elicit joy is sitting on the other side of something that you're finding so taxing and you're so just burnt on that you just can't fathom doing that task again. So reward yourself. And in many ways, I think this would kind of be under the umbrella of self-care. Or on top of these possibilities, maybe find a new joy. And I don't mean set it as a reward. I mean, maybe find something to take your mind, something new, something you've never done, never thought you'd do, didn't even consider, but you need to get your mind off the thing that you're getting burnt out on. So when you're in it, you gotta be in it. You gotta work. You gotta do your job. That's critical. I understand, but trust me, I understand the burnout. But conversely, you gotta take care of yourself, because you don't take care of yourself, that you're gonna be in a world of pain, anguish, if you're not already there. Finding something new, you may find distracts you long enough or redirects those energies such that you're not burdened by them even when you're in them, because you're bringing something new into your life. And sometimes that's exciting. That it may be stressful for you to do new things. I don't know. I'm merely recommending it. A new thing might be a new hobby, right? Or a new pastime, right? They make these coloring books for adults is what they call them, like where you just like draw mandalas, or they've even got a Star Wars one of these, which is great, and I have it. Yes, of course it's Star Wars. But something where you just kind of zone out and you focus on that task at hand and just you kind of zone out, and then you're done, and then you've produced something, this art that you've drawn or you've colored. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're an artist yourself. Lego sets. I know it sounds weird, but maybe you've never done them before. Maybe they've been something, oh, maybe, I don't know. They're like, but in much the same way, you're trying something new, you're being creative, you're being constructive, you've got something at the end of the day that you can look back and admire, and you did it, and you can be proud of your accomplishment, right? Or it doesn't even have to be an accomplishment, it could just anything new. Anything new to re-energize you. And it doesn't have to be associated at all with what you're doing with your job, because that would probably be a bad idea. You don't want to, it's got to be like radically different. Because you don't want to be reminded of the burnout. You want a time to yourself where you're not thinking about the burnout, or you're not in the middle of it. Another thing that I considered, this may be viable, it may not be viable. Take as many breaks as you can, like mental breaks, if you can during the course of the day. Instead of checking social media, and you may or may not already do that, if you can afford to take breaks, take another break. Take an additional break. Don't do anything on that break. Focus on your breathing. There are a billion apps out there that literally do just that, like allow you to focus on your breathing, to recenter yourself. And that's not some, namby-pamby, idea. I'm like, you zone out. You clear your mind to be able to recenter and get through the prospect that's, really pushing you to the brink of no longer being engaged in your job, which, as you pointed out, there's no option to leave, and there's no option for taking leave. They can't keep you from taking breaks. I can't imagine. Can you get another one in there? Is it possible? So those are just some ideas that I thought through, like how I would deal with that situation. I've dealt with burnout before by doing similar things, like finding something new, finding something interesting for me, recognizing when it wasn't working for me anymore and needing to do something different. That's a completely different conversation, because that may or may not be viable in every way. At some point, you will have to ask yourself if it's worth it. If the burnout is worth it. And, the last thing that I would want to see is you buckle under that, or anybody to buckle under that. So take care of yourself. And those are some options. Set the goal, get a carrot. It's like a carrot, like in front of like a donkey, right? You lead them with a carrot, and the carrot is the thing that they're always going for, and it keeps them walking forward. That was the old saying. I don't know if that's still relevant today. Do donkeys still exist? Do they still exist? I'm not even sure. Aveline French is live in chat, and I wanted to loop back with her, and she says, "This is brilliant, Chris. Thank you so much for the advice. I'm going to put this into practice. Thank you so much." That's validating for me to hear, because it was a shoot from the hip, gave you a few different ideas, and I'm hoping that there are people out there who've been through the same thing or may have other advice. We may be getting some good comments coming in. If you've got other advice for Aveline, feel free to drop them in there. Good advice, solid advice, reasonable advice. I'm all about sharing that, especially if it's based upon your experience. So thanks again for being here, and is there anything else I could help anybody with?